Started. First of all, thank you all for being here tonight and for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us and to enjoy this event.
We also want to thank to our speakers who decided to grace us with their presence at our inaugural event. Thank you guys. It means the world to us. Really.
Yes, we still don't know how we got these speakers, but we're lucky. So you're probably wondering what Bulgarian Women in Tech is, and we don't blame you because you probably don't know. This is something new. And instead of sitting here and kind of boring you to death and talking about it, we actually have a short video we'd like you to see that will answer this question.
Women in tech have become a hot topic in the recent years, but why should we care? The obvious answer is that women represent 50% of the world's population. Yet statistically, they remain underrepresented in the tech industry, holding only 20% of the tech jobs in the US. The World Economic Forum says empowering women globally has the potential to bring 28 trillion economic growth within the next 7 years. Having men and women from different backgrounds working in tech is essential for maximizing innovation. So why are we still struggling to close the gender gap in the technology industry? Gender bias is still a thing in the tech world. And unwittingly, companies often foster a culture that doesn't encourage women to pursue a career in tech. Not enough female mentors and not having enough female examples to emulate also play a big part in it. Physically seeing and witnessing what we can become is so important. Empowering women in tech is not only important for the women today, but it's also essential in shaping the path forward for future generations. We need women to support women. Introducing Bulgarian Women in Tech. Founded in Seattle, this organization aims to support and grow the women in tech across the globe. Our goal is to increase women's global impact in tech through collaboration, growing, inspiring, celebrating, mentoring, and creating opportunities for each other. We drive our objectives forward by embracing diversity and inclusion. Although this community aims to build a support network for women with Bulgarian heritage, we welcome anyone, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, or current profession. Join us and connect with like-minded women working in the technology fields, find mentorship opportunities, and meet people you can learn from. Inspire and get inspired while cultivating long-term career success in the technology field through developing yourself personally and professionally. Learn through deep dives into tech trends that are changing the technology landscape, arming you with the knowledge and drive to write your own success story. Join us in driving gender diversity in the world's fastest growing industry. Find details on our website.
So that is what we're trying to do here, essentially, in short words. But we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Eva Ben.
I'm Antonetta Manco, and we are the founders of Bulgarian Women in Tech.
And before we kind of kick this off, we just wanted to briefly walk you through our stories and tell you why we started this organization, essentially. So I'll start. First off, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that never in a million years I thought that I'd end up with a career in technology. Growing up in Bulgaria, I was raised to believe that careers in tech are just for men. And technology was not part of the core curriculum in my high school. The one computer lab that we had was always locked for some reason. I never really had access to it. To this day, I have no idea why. Computers were considered a luxury item in the households back then, so we didn't have one. And my parents, my family, or my immediate circle of friends didn't know much about computers. So technology was simply unattainable for me. It didn't feel real, but I didn't really care about it because I was a girl and that was a boy thing, so I wasn't something that I cared about. Later on in life, my journey didn't always have a clear path. I started off from pursuing an international studies degree in the University of Veliko Tvrdovo in Bulgaria, striving to become a European diplomat. Later becoming paralyzed of not really knowing what my true passion was and dropping out of college. Then returning to college, pursuing a marketing degree at the Foster School of Business at the UW. I've had my fair share of ups and downs. I stumbled upon tech merely on accident at this tech event at the University of Washington, and I was really intrigued because I saw a glimpse of a world where women are making a difference in the tech field. And I was kind of invigorated by this soon after I took my first information systems class, and I loved it. I realized that innovation wasn't just about coming up with cool new ideas and creativity, but it was also about figuring out how these things work and making the world a better place. So with that, I decided, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can go ahead and change my career path to pursue a career in technology. I was extremely scared because I was going against my lifelong beliefs that I'm not a good fit for a career in technology. That's not something I would be successful in. I was doubting myself every day through making that choice. But at the same time, I also realized that all these years that I had spent searching for myself and trying to figure out what my true passion was, that whole time it wasn't about finding myself, but it was about creating myself. So that's why I decided to go against my fears and change my focus, ditch marketing, and pursue an information systems career and take a lot of classes in the high school. And I knew I had to work twice as hard because I had no background in technology, I didn't really know much about it, and I didn't know anybody that worked in the tech field. I just knew that sounded super interesting to me and I wanted to pursue it. And I worked full-time through college because I needed to support myself through school while maintaining top-tier GPA and also volunteering at 2 technology organizations at school, gaining hands-on experience to make me marketable. Through my last year of college, I actually did not have a day off, no joke, because I got a job at this team that was responding to life-site incidents, and I had to work on weekends and on holidays, going to school full-time and volunteering. It wasn't always easy, but my focus, my passion, and my determinations were my driving forces forward, and I pushed through. And I've since been very fortunate to have a rewarding career in the software development and the cybersecurity fields. And turns out that despite of my deeply rooted beliefs that I am not going to make it in a career in tech, turns out I can do it. And not only I can do it, but I also don't suck at it. Accelerating my career through the years through several early promotions, getting various different awards, and also being recognized nationally once over thousands of nominees. But I'm not really here to talk about myself. The only reason why I'm giving you a glimpse of my journey is because my journey is ultimately what led me to my current mission, to help others build and grow their careers in the tech industry, and to ensure that every woman and man on this planet has the opportunity, the means, and the support to have a successful career in technology. So with that, I just want to make sure that everybody here is aware that you don't have to do what others tell you to do. You always have to pursue your dreams. We need more women actually getting into the tech field on purpose, not on accident, like me and many others that I know. And this is really important to me as a woman and as a mother, because I know as women we always actually face harder choices between professional success and personal fulfillment. And without a strong support network, it's really hard to find that balance. So I truly hope that my story kind of helped inspire you to pursue your dreams no matter where you are in your career path, and to remind you that you yourself are in control of your career path and your journey. Again, don't let anybody tell you what you can and what you should do, no matter what your gender, your age, or your ethnicity is. You got this. When we first started the Bulgarian Women in Tech a couple of months ago, I promise you, I thought that we were just starting a small community for women from Bulgarian heritage that to just kind of meet each other, get to know each other, hopefully share some ideas and help each other along the way. But I quickly realized that that was not a small community. It's a global network of talented, fascinating women and men who each have stories to share, input to give, and ideas to spread. And we owe it to each other to provide each other with a platform to share our ideas and to propel our careers forward. And this is exactly what Bulgarian Women in Tech is about, and this is exactly why we established this organization. And lastly, again, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. I really understand that this is a huge time commitment in the middle of the week. And I do want to end with one ask. I know that you guys are going to have an awesome time tonight. We have some remarkable speakers, and you're going to love every single bit of this presentation. But just make it a point, keep yourself accountable to take away at least one thing with you long term that you can implement in your careers. You're probably not going to remember everything, let's be realistic, but if you can take one thing away, if each and every one of you can take one thing away and retain it long term into your careers, I think we've done our job here tonight. Thank you.
Hi everyone, just to see that I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was growing up. I admired all my classmates who had such a clear vision of where they wanted to be in their career, and they were following through from taking the right classes in high school to preparing to the right university to ultimately getting to that career. Me, on the other hand, I was kind of bouncing off between, do I want to be a lawyer or do I want to be maybe a medical professional? At some point, I even wanted to be a GM at a hotel. The list can keep going on and on and on, but through this pursuit for finding my purpose, I never even considered a career in tech. Sometimes I really wonder why this might have been. Maybe I just wasn't exposed to technology early on in my life. That was just part of this interest that we all need. Or maybe I just didn't perceive it as a woman's field. It was something that a guy pointed out, or at least in my mind. Or maybe I just didn't feel like it was a cool profession to have. And I don't think I'll ever know the answer to that question. It probably is a combination of all three, let's be real. So there I was, graduating from high school, coming here to the States in pursuit of my higher education, and just not knowing what I wanted to study. Just as I started with marketing, I thought to myself, well, you know what, I'm pretty creative, sociable, I think I can pull this off. Personality-wise, I feel like it would be the best choice for me. But pretty quickly after that, I realized that marketing nowadays is not, in the digital era, it is not all about just putting up billboards and just like crafting artsy flyers. It has a lot more to do with building websites, building your brand, using different digital tools and so forth. I recognize that I'm missing in that department big time because, as I said, I never really was exposed to technology growing up to that extent. So I decided to, start a second degree, and I did information systems as well as my second degree. Little did I know, information systems really had almost nothing to do with building websites. It was actually such a small percentage of the curriculum that it didn't really help me in that department, but it was more or less centered around data mining, analytics, and SQL. And speaking of SQL, that was my very, very first introduction to any type of coding language or scripting language. I was pretty intimidated in the beginning. I proceeded to be intimidated. Actually, that class was such a nightmare to me, if I have to be completely frank with you. I really didn't feel like I wanted to do this career-wise. I was just hoping to get out of it as much as I can, just get whatever grade, and that would be the last time I touched anything coding related whatsoever. After all, I was taking these classes just so I can be a more well-rounded marketer. I did not have any intention to work in analytics whatsoever. But just as it often happens, life has a much, much different plan for us. So after graduating from the University of Washington with a double major, I was in a real pinch to find a job. My husband was getting back to school full-time, and we were kind of burning through our savings. We really needed a steady stream of income. And I was kind of forced into expanding my horizons. I figured that finding a career in marketing was actually much more difficult than I thought it would be. And I started looking honestly for whatever jobs come my way. And this is how I landed my first job in analytics as a business analyst at a company called Chasing Fireflies. I was extremely intimidated. Actually, that's an understatement. I was terrified. I felt like I would never do well at this job. After all, the only SQL experience I had was in this one class that, by the way, as I pointed out earlier, I hated. I didn't think I had the right skills. I didn't think I had the logical thinking to be successful at it. Just overall, I felt like I would just stick it around for a couple of years and just move on from it. But something interesting happened. I started and I met my manager. She was this young, inspiring lady who was just a pinch older than me, actually, and she became more of a mentor to me than a manager. She truly took me under her wing, and she taught me all about analytics. She showed me all these new areas that I never thought existed as machine learning. She encouraged me to experiment, learn, to elevate my skills, and become better at what I do. And she gave me the time and opportunity to do so. Thinking back at it, she truly was an instrumental person in my life that made me believe that I can do that, and I can do it well. So with that being said, I can only hope that I can do this for someone else with the work we do at Bulgarian Women in Tech. It is really intimidating stepping into a career in technology, especially if you don't have the traditional academic background. It is extremely intimidating to step into a career in technology, regardless of whether I actually have the academic background or not. Just as Eva and myself, both of us kind of stumbled upon it. Other people prepare for this their whole entire life. But no matter what our paths are, we all, at the end of the day, need someone to support us and cheer us along the way. We all need a community where we can express ourselves, share our experience and knowledge, a community that makes it less intimidating and a lot more inviting for everyone to join Korean technology. And this is really what we're trying to do here at Bulgarian Women in Tech. And we really are just trying to create a community where we can be supportive and learn from each other. Thank you guys for your attention, and we're going to proceed to the rest of the presentation.
All right, so next, we want to recognize our team of amazing women without whom this event would not have happened. So first, this is our amazing board of directors. These are all fascinating women, all successful in their careers, all juggling families, kids, and careers, and also volunteering in the Bulgarian Women in Tech. So this is Rumi Garbova, Yanni Donchev, Ali Stoyanova, and Petya Virulova. They're standing over there. We couldn't be more grateful to have them. We also have Elka Ruskov as our board advisor. Her extensive experience in nonprofit organizations is really invaluable for us and is helping us shape the path forward for our organization. So thank you, Elka, so much for your involvement. Yes, Elka, for those of you that are not Bulgarian, is somewhat of a celebrity in the Bulgarian community. So we're very glad to have her. And then last but not least, we're very excited to announce that we're actually expanding our footprint globally, and we're opening a chapter in Bulgaria. Venera Sokolova is our chapter lead. She's already recruited a number of volunteers, and we're starting this up. Even though we're growing, we are still looking for more people to help. Just email us at hello@BulgarianWomenInTech if you'd like to be involved in our organization. You don't have to be a woman, and you don't have to be Bulgarian. As the video mentioned, and we also mentioned, we're very inclusive. So anybody who would like to help and is interested in a career in technology, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
We're also extremely excited to announce our mentorship program, which is a program that connects like-minded individuals across the globe. As we mentioned, we are expanding globally. Let them share their experiences and knowledge. If you're interested to learn more about it, you can join our private group of Bulgarian Women in Tech and check it out. It's a very easy, seamless process to sign up for it. So now, with no further ado, let's get to our speakers. But let's be real, guys, you're here for them. So let's warm welcome to Mamtha.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Good? So I don't know about each of you, but I'm here for two reasons. One, to support Bulgarian women in tech. Yay! And thanks to Yanni. And two, to hear James Whittaker speak. and do his, I'm reading a teacher, do his epic shit. All right, so, all right. And mine is going to be a short talk. We'll spend time on Q&A. I'd like to hear more from each of you. All right, so I'm a mom, technologist, two-time entrepreneur, and with a passion and a mission to get more women to tech. And about 12 years ago, I was developer, engineer, tech lead, engineering manager, and I had zero exposure to anything related to business, marketing, finance, fundraising, and networking was not even my thing. So today, we'll talk about, next slide, we'll talk about three things. We'll go ask Alice from Dilbert for career advice. We'll talk about different career paths, as Eva and Antoinette have told us. There's no straight path anywhere in anybody's career. And we'll talk about entrepreneurship, my favorite topic. All right, let's see what Alice has to say, right? Work so hard that it destroys you. Right? So how many of you here have worked long hours, 80 hours? I mean, we've all had phases in our life, right? And then you're wondering, why am I doing this, right? And also that career advice doesn't equate to happiness advice, right? There's no direct path, there's no direct career path, right? As all of you know. Reality is so different. You have a boss that sucks. You have reorg after reorg, right? You have changes in your team. You're working on areas you don't like. There's always something. And if you look at the blueprint, it's different, right? It's personal, and each of you has a different blueprint. And each of you will have a different path, right? And someone like me, I've jumped a lot. I've jumped between corporate jobs and engineering roles to being a startup founder, which is doing everything, including being the janitor, right? And then moving back into corporate America. So it's not the same, and it varies from person to person. One story from my past. I took an extended maternity leave when I was an engineering manager a long time ago. And I took a break because I couldn't handle it. I was so used to working 80 hours, really long hours before, and I was like, I just can't live the same life again. And I took a break. We even moved locations, and I happened to come back to just say hello to my colleagues, and my VP was waiting for me. This was about almost a year later. And he's like, will you come back? I'll give you a promotion and a raise. So I was back again in a corporate job, this time in spite of taking a one-year break. And I was back in a better role and with more money. So just to know that life throws curveballs at you, and you'll survive. You'll find ways around it. And just to say, if sometimes you just have to take a break, right? And you don't have to worry about, oh, will I have a job back? In tech, you will, trust me, you will always have a job. And the other advantage is you can always come back with the latest technology. All you have to do is spend 6 months ramping up, and you'll get a much better job. Over the past decade, the role of an engineer has changed, right? It's become a role where there's a lot of pressure, right? There's multiple paths, and there's, as we said, there's no single trajectory. So we'll walk through some of the options for an IC versus a manager. And I'm using the term engineer, but really it could mean anything. It could be program manager, TPM, a product manager. I mean, feel free to use the right job code here. And so some of the strategies that you can use as you're going through your career, right? So you're early engineer or an early program manager, and you become a lead PM or a technical lead. And it's not like it's a binary direction. It's not that you can only go through leadership or a management path, or as an IC. There's several ways in which you can choose to go between one or the other, or even move from an IC into a manager or back into an IC. So how many of you here are in an IC role? All right. And how many in management? So notice I didn't use the term leadership, because I think leadership is needed whether you're an IC or you're a manager. It just, your scope of influence is different, but leadership is key no matter what role you play. And then now let's go talk about entrepreneurship. Think about, how many of you have been to Japan and been on one of these on Shinkansen? So this is like going on a bullet train. If you're an entrepreneur or you're working in a company, right, it's almost like you're on a bullet train, because you have the momentum, you have the resources, you have the funding, you have a marketing team, you have biz dev, and you're able to actually move at a really fast pace. So now, think about actually being an entrepreneur. The bullet train, the Shinkansen, stops at a station and you get off, right? And the train leaves without you. And you're now on your own. So you know how to build stuff, but that's not enough. As an entrepreneur, you really need to know, go beyond that. You need to be able to sell what you build, and also work on all the skill sets that are needed and build a team. It's very different. But at the same time, eventually you'll get your momentum, but it takes time. A lot of folks I know are very interested in being an entrepreneur and are always asking me, what does it take, right? It's just that when you have that momentum, it feels very easy, but when you get off that train, you're on your own. And the DNA of an entrepreneur, really, are you a risk taker? Are you passionate, and are you creative? In every startup, there are like three different roles. You can see what type of role that you fit into, right? There's a hacker, a hustler, and an innovator. And of course, some folks have all three in them, but ideally, the founding team of a startup has a combination of these things: a hacker, an innovator, and a hustler. I'll talk about some of my experiences as a startup founder, and there are two startups that I founded. So the first one, the first one was more of a need, personal need. I was searching online saying that, hey, I have $10,000. How can I invest? Like, what options do I have? So I ended up founding Investment Only with a co-founder of that company. So I moved to India at that time and built a startup there, was there for a couple of years. We were the first online e-filing tax site in India. So like a TurboTax for India. This was in 2008. Of course, you move to India and you don't realize the broadband penetration is really low. Our users would come in only from Monday through Friday, and literally like very few users on the weekend because folks were accessing us from work. And this was pre-smartphones, at least in India, and pre-data plans. So it was rough. But in spite of that, the first year we had over 40,000 folks who filed their taxes through our site. And it was a great experience, including raising funding for it. So, and the first time, just before we launched, so here I am, a person, as I said, with no experience with marketing or fundraising. And me and my co-founder moved to India, and I remember doing my first press conference with a whole slew of journalists. And it was very interesting. I've done things that I have never done in my life before, and I had zero trainings in any of those areas either. And I know for a marketing person, this may seem like it's not a big deal, but for someone who's an engineer and introvert and who's never really spent time outside of development, this was a huge deal. And on top of that, also, hiring in India was new, and I had never worked in India before, so it was all very new. And my startup was the first startup in an incubator, and we were just down the road from Microsoft in Hyderabad. And it was really hard to hire. So I had to find strategies in finding really good folks who may not actually make it to the Microsoft interview because they may not know English as well, right? Or something, or I would find folks from tier 2 cities, and it was rough. But it was a great experience. And Microsoft was also one of our partners for one of our products. And coming back, I moved back to Seattle, and again, it's a long story, but I moved back to Seattle, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And at that time, my daughter was 4 years old, spending a lot of time on YouTube, watching videos. How many of you here have kids, and how much time do they spend watching videos? A lot of time, right? And kids were only like 2 to 3 clicks away from adult content on YouTube, and I think they still are. Yeah. So at that time, my co-founder and I, we built this app. In fact, she's right here. And I ended up, we barely spent like 2 months building the app. I flew to San Francisco with just this iPad and the app, and I was walking around this conference showing it to people. And we had over 3 media companies come to me and say, can you build that for me? And so that's how we ended up kind of really getting the startup going and hiring a team. And I flew to CES. I don't know how many of you are familiar with CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. I had no idea again, but I was like, hey, someone said it's there. I said, I'll make a day trip. I don't want to spend money staying there overnight. So I did a day trip, took a 6 a.m. flight, and there we ran into some tablet makers who were like, hey, we'd love to have your app on our tablet. So then we ended up signing a deal, and we were preloaded on 500,000 kids' tablets. And eventually, anyway, the story, we got into Techstars, got funding. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Techstars. Techstars? Okay. But if anybody is interested in the startup space, Techstars is one of the Ivy League startup accelerators, and we have one right here in Seattle. And what the accelerator does, it gives you funding, it gives you an environment, a huge network of mentors, and really helps accelerate It's an accelerator, yeah. Accelerate getting your product out and just launching and growing your startup. Compared to what I did in my previous startup where I had very little support, very few mentors. It was much easier this time around. So Ben Horowitz, one of the VCs, had written a book called The Hard Things About Hard Things. And in that, he talks about when you're an entrepreneur, you have only two emotions, right? Euphoria and terror. And that you can't sleep at night. So if you look at the startup curve, the TechCrunch initiation is when you have your that's your euphoria moment. You have a lot of users and you have a lot of press. And then the novelty wears off pretty fast, and you're stuck in the trough of sorrow. Some people, some of the founders end up coming out of it, and some companies do, but 90% of them don't. All right. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in a corporate job, one of the most important things is our mentors. Right? Who is your Yoda? To give you an example, while we were in Techstars, I had over 100 mentors at one point in time. I mean, I'm not kidding, over 100. That doesn't mean you're meeting them all the time, but I had mentors doing my marketing for me. We had one mentor who did all our press releases for us. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to do a press release, right? And there was one mentor who actually helped us hire our CTO, another mentor who helped us hire our VP of marketing. And so it takes a village. And having mentors, whether you're an entrepreneur or a corporate job, it really helps. And it doesn't have to be a formal relationship. You don't have to, in fact, I would prefer non-informal relationships. That way you have a question, you know who to go to, right? And you're trying to decide, you're trying to make a decision, or you need support. Mentors are a great way to navigate through life. And they also help you with build your blueprint that you're looking for. All right. So as we come to a close, I have 3 takeaways here. Whatever role you're in, right? Get shit done. Just focus on that. I think that's the most important. Doesn't matter what role you're in, you have to get your shit done. And number 2, get out of your comfort zone. Do things that don't come naturally to you. Pick up tasks that you would not normally volunteer, right? And the third, make sure that every quarter you're working on one key skill, one key tech skill, and one key behavioral skill. So, do I have a commitment from all of you that every quarter you will find one skill, at least one of the 2, that you identify and work on? Did I hear from all of you?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes? And too often you get so comfortable, you're like, oh yeah, I'm good at all this, but there's always something you can learn from, right? And it's important for us. And I love this quote, let's go invent tomorrow rather than worrying about what happened yesterday. Thank you. And before I'm done, I just wanted to shout out to our folks from Expedia and Yanni. And we are hiring. We are always hiring. And I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you very much for the information. And I have a question. You mentioned that mentors are very important. How would you recommend, how would you personally prefer to reach people and ask them to become your mentor?
Okay. So I don't do formal mentorships. While we were in Techstars, they had formal events where you could meet a lot of mentors. But even then, it was informal in when you have a question or there is some way you can connect. So I'll give you an example. Where do you work right now?
Booking.com.
Ah, all right. I should have asked that first. So, in your organization, or it doesn't have to be, preferably not in your own chain, but look for mentors and folks who work with your teams, right? And people who inspire you, and folks in leadership roles that you aspire to be, and just have a coffee with them, right? Ask them questions, and then build that relationship so that over time, when you really have hard decisions to make, then go ask them. So I found that it's easier to find informal mentors than formal. If you go and ask someone you want to be a mentor, then they're like, oh my God, how much is my time commitment, right? But once you get to know the person, yes, then you can go ahead and say, hey, are you open to being a mentor, and how much time do you have? And at Expedia, we do have a lot of mentorship programs for folks in leadership roles, and even for engineers. There are some that are formal and some informal, and folks do reach out often with questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and networking events are a great way to also find people.
I have a question.
So, could you talk about a little bit of how you managed to have such a successful career and, you know, starting up startups successfully and also managing your family and your personal life?
Yeah.
If you can share some actionable tips with us.
All right. So, it's all perspective, right? Successful career is all perspective. So, I'm not afraid to make decisions and to jump ship, right? To take breaks, or to suddenly say, hey, I want to go to a startup. I don't care. I'm going to take the risk of doing a startup and not getting a paycheck. I remember the first startup we did, my co-founder just turned in his car and got a shitty rundown third-hand car from somewhere else, saying that, you know what, we had to live the real startup life. So not being afraid. And the other question about how do you manage between personal life and work. So you can't be good at everything, so you have to drop a few things, right? For example, I have a cook, so I still do cook, but where possible, I try to outsource, while I'm still keeping an eye on stuff. And I'm not very picky about making sure everything is met. For example, if I'm traveling and then my husband forgets to take my kids for some classes, I'm like, yeah, that's okay, right? Just taking it easy, just being chill about stuff helps. Because in the end, if you get stressed out, your everything suffers. Everything suffers, your personal life, everything. So I think the one thing I'll say is just be chill. So my kids may not agree.
Any other questions?
All right. So I think now we come to the fun and entertainment part of today. And I get to introduce James Whittaker, the person with a very colorful language. All right. Thanks, James.
Thank you. So, I'm not the kind of guy you would expect giving a talk on success. I'm not the kind of guy who's supposed to succeed. I'm from Kentucky. My heritage is coal miners and farmhands and the real peach job, a factory worker. I didn't go to the best schools. I say words like fuck out loud. Oh, by the way, there's a G-rated version of this talk. This ain't it. I pick fights with executives and stand my ground. I quit companies when they annoy me and write really good blog posts about why. Like Microsoft wasn't expecting it. Steve Ballmer got up during a company meeting and was like, everybody should read James Whittaker's post about why I left Google. And I was surprised I wrote one about why I left Microsoft? Come on, guys. I'm not the kind of guy who's supposed to succeed. And yet I have. Against the odds, and I know why. I know exactly why. I know 9 reasons why. There's not 10 reasons, there's not 8, there's 9. And I wrote about them in a book I called Career Superpowers. Because as I started to succeed, it kind of caught me by surprise. Right? I'm picking up the tab at dinners and buying houses, and everybody's like, how can you afford this? And at first I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Hey, people are throwing money. Why are they throwing money at me? So I wrote about it. And then as I began to dig into the ones that I really sort of wanted to double down on, the first one was I realized I'm more creative than most people. Much more creative than most people. Sorry. I'm probably more creative than most of you, if statistics show. I didn't accidentally stumble into this, right? Yeah, I played Lego as a kid, but that's not the reason I'm creative. I became creative on purpose. I noticed I really enjoyed the creative aspects of my job, and I figured out how to double down on it, and I wrote a whole book about it. I write. You want to hear some actionable advice? Learn how to write. Half my success is because I could write better than people who were competing with me. Why did Google choose to do X instead of Y? Because I was supporting X, and I'm a better writer than the douche who was writing about Y. Writing. Storytelling. People pay attention to me. When I get up and give a talk, people laugh, and it's like comedy hour. Why? How do I do that? I know exactly how I did it, because I did it on purpose. And I wrote down the things that worked, and I wrote down the things that didn't work, and I stopped doing those. And I doubled down on the stuff that worked. And it's an advantage. It's a huge career advantage. I go to job interviews, I can get the question wrong, and people are like, I don't know why, but I'm giving him a top score. I know why, because I got inside their head and figured out which neuron, how to fire their neurons. And I can teach you to do that too, because I wrote a book about it. And then the last one, and this is what I'm going to talk about today, I have always been ahead of the curve. And I know why. That's not a gift. I wasn't born with this shit. I'm from Kentucky. I was born with a really weird accent, and you know, I had one pair of shoes. My brother's shoes. They never fit, and I figured it out. I was on top of this quality game in the 90s. I saw testing as the biggest problem. Bugs are our biggest problem in software. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, and only assholes test. You know, real men develop. Yeah, really? Y2K came around. I was on top of that. I was one of the first people to start talking about computer security. Why? Because I'm clairvoyant. That's one of the superpowers. How did I become clairvoyant? Because I paid attention. That's really, here's another piece of advice. Pay attention to shit. Pay attention to people around you. There's somebody who's successful. Watch her. What's she doing? How's she doing it? And if the answer is luck or ass kissing, don't follow that. There's enough of that stuff around. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. By the way, all 3 of these, this is available only online. All 3 of those books are out there. If you want to duck out and grab one, payment information is on there. All the money goes to charity. It goes to Raven Rock Ranch. It's a ranch out in Woodinville that matches horses and kids who are struggling with life. And they perform miracles. I don't know what it is about horses, but it's stunningly amazing charity. And all the money goes to them. In fact, more money than you pay is going to go to that. But I want to talk about this one because this is where I've really, really made like leaps in that that startup founder landscape that Mamtha shows. This is where I'm strapping on like, you know, a motorized kite and just kind of zooming through it. My ability to know what's coming. You know, my ability to sit around and talk to, you know, top brass at all the companies I've worked for and tell them what the future is going to be and have them just kind of say, Dana, you're right. So instead of teaching you how to be clairvoyant, I'm just going to predict the future for you. You can figure out how to be clairvoyant if you read Career Superpowers. So let's talk about this. In a word, your future, humanity's future, mankind's future, the cure to global warming, the cure to cancer, the cure to peace, the cure to politics is data. One single word, data. And it turns out it's always been data. Always, from the very beginning, our hunter and gatherer ancestors. If they were unable to look at the world and see patterns, they starved. They died. They're no longer in the gene pool. But our ancestors who could look at herd migration and say, you know what? Doing the same damn thing they did last time the sun was high in the sky. They're doing the same damn thing last time it started getting cold. And they figured it out and they became better hunters and they ate better and they procreated. And the ones that figured out, hey, you know, you can pick all the shit off that plant. You can even transplant the plant, but it's the soil, right? They got it. We're pattern analyzers. That's what we are as humans. The ones that got good at it survived. The ones that sucked at it died. And then it kept going, right? Every single time we've had a disruption in all of humanity, it's been about data and how we interpret and handle data. The first one was the spoken language, right? The ability to communicate data to others. Right? The people who couldn't communicate, they couldn't hunt together. They couldn't succeed together. And they got killed by the tribes who could. They got killed by the tribes who were good at communicating with each other and talking about, let's plan this hunt. Right? You go that way, I'll go that way, and bam, we'll eat. The spoken language. See, the skills change in this. Back instead of just the big brute force people who could see patterns, communication skills became important. And the people who were good communicators, they became leaders of really successful tribes. Different set of skills. Good communicator didn't matter in the old way. Mattered in a new way. See, this is the pattern we're going to see. Oh, you can tell what's going to happen. We're going to get to the bottom. There's going to be a bunch of disruptions. It's going to be good, juicy shit. We're all going to learn. It's going to be crazy. All of them give advantage. The next one was written language. All of a sudden, it's not necessarily the good communicators, right? It doesn't have to be experience-based and observation. It's attention-based now. Can you learn the skill to read? Can you learn the skill to write? Can you sit still long enough to gain these skills? That's a different set of skills. The people who could sit still long enough and study and think and read and realize, hey, you know what? I learned all this shit, and then I just observed this. I can now create new knowledge. That's a different set of skills. And those are the people who thrive. People who couldn't develop those new skills, they died out. This is the pattern. A disruption around data happens. The people who get good at the disruption, at the new rules, they're the ones that succeed. And the people who are good at the old stuff, yeah, not so much. The next one was distribution. Right, the rise of the media, the invention of the printing press. Now, instead of standing on the street corner and yelling at all you all while you're there, I can now hand out pamphlets and flyers, and all of a sudden, it's a different set of skills. Now, what do I need to do after this new disruption? I need to accumulate knowledge. I need to build distribution channels. This is where radio and TV and newspaper came from. Somebody recognized this shit's important. The rules of the world have changed. Wealth flows when any of these disruption periods happen. Wealth flows from the people who are doing it the old way to the people who are doing it the new way. This is the rise of NBC and ABC and CBS. It mattered. Why were there only 3? In Britain, there was only 1, the BBC. Why? Why were there only 3? Because it was hard. It was hard to amass all of this wealth of data. Right? They started with warehouses full of file cabinets full of ink on paper. How are you going to be the fourth network in that? Well, you got to figure out how to replicate those big buildings full of ink and paper. Not so easy to do. So they dominated and they became wealthy. They became the people who could tell you how to think, what to think. Huge amounts of influence, huge amounts of success, huge amounts of wealth. Every single one of these are about data. And then, of course, digitization came around and boom, there's not NBC and CNN. I don't even remember the last time I watched NBC, ABC, or CBS News. Why? Because now all of a sudden, those big file cabinets and shit don't matter anymore. This stuff is digitized and we can make perfect copies of it easily. And the people that didn't see it coming, the music industry, they didn't see it coming. They're like, here, buy a record. And you can copy a record. You can copy a record onto a cassette, and a cassette would not sound very good, so you end up going out and buying a record anyhow. They did it themselves with CDs. Music industry's like, oh, you computing people, you moved the cheese. How you move the cheese yourself, you dumbasses? First step was CDs. It's in digital format. I can copy a CD. I can get a perfect copy of a CD. Dumbasses. They didn't realize. See, this is the problem. You get so used to the old game that you can't do the new game anymore. Expedia, I'm going to throw you all under the bus in a minute. Just wait. Who's the other speaker? Where's she from? Expedia? Oh, good. Don't think Booking.com's got it either. They don't. Digitization. It changed the game. It moved the cheese. Now all of a sudden you got CNN, you got MTV, you got blah, 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 blah. Now everybody's got it. It's a completely different game. Napster killed radio. Napster killed record companies. A perfect copy of the one good song. That's all we really wanted anyhow. Now we get it for free. And then finally, the age where we are now. Mechanization of this shit, because there's too much data. Pay attention. You want to start predicting the future? Pay attention. Do you remember when we started talking with gigabytes? That was pretty much it. I remember getting a computer with 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I'm like, damn, this is big. We didn't talk about terabytes much. I mean, a terabyte drive back then probably would have been about the size of the Earth. And then all of a sudden, we have terabyte drives. I got a 4 terabyte drive that fits in the palm of my hand. So then next was petabytes, and that just sounds kind of creepy, actually. So we don't even talk about petabytes because we had to pass it up. Did you know the metric system ended at exabyte? That was it. We didn't have a word for higher than exabyte. As we blow past exabytes, we generate about 10 exabytes a day in data right now. Humanity does. What the hell are you gonna do with that shit? We actually had to get together. 2011, all the scientists met. They're like, we're out of exabytes. But we need another word. These are hints, man. When we're making words up. This is how I got into computer security for everybody. Like, ooh, vulnerability. We weren't saying the word vulnerability in the mid-90s. Ooh, worm. Exploits. Those are new words. New words generally lead to the future because we're trying to explain a concept we don't understand these new words. So all the scientists got together and like, all right, what are we going to call it? And they decided zettabyte because they couldn't see past the letter Z. All right, so let's just give it the letter Z. Let's just go, let's not just walk off this cliff. Let's get a running start. Zettabyte. And 2 years later, they had to meet and they had to back up to Y for yottabyte. And then now they're trying to figure it out again. What's 1,000 to the 9th? They finally got a millennial on it, and they proposed a hellabyte, which I voted for. That's an awesome word. Brontobite one. What the hell's a brontobite? It's like some hungry dinosaurs. Like, I would take it. stupid. Bronto bite my ass. There's too much data for us. We don't know. I go to girl. I go to booking.com because I'm trying to support something the Europeans have done right. Any company that's ever out of Europe, they just kind of go away, don't they? When I start going, I'm like, oh, I want to take a family on a trip to Europe for Christmas. And you know, all these websites are like, where are you going to start? What's your starting point? I don't know. Seattle? Good guess. Where do you want to go? I type in Europe. And they're like, no such airport. And then Expedia's like, oh wow, nobody's ever flown from Seattle to Europe before. We don't know how to help. Because the old way was software, right? That's what we're used to. All right, the Microsofties. You all might have missed a few spots over the decades. We're used to a software world. We're used to programming shit. If, this, then, that, else, this other stuff over here. You think you're going to be programming? You think you're going to be writing software in 10 years? You're stupid. Stop! It's going to change. You're not going to be writing software anymore. No one's going to be coding in 10 years. So get ahead of it now. Everybody, stop writing code. You can't build the future. You build the future on the present, right? We're going to be doing this for a while, but not much longer, because you can't do it. It's too hard. Every time my family's like, oh, let's go somewhere. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go to Expedia. It hasn't gotten any easier. It's gotten marginally easier. It's not your fault. It's the people you report to. This disruption is going to require machines. This disruption is going to require algorithms that can look at data. This disruption is going to require something inside Booking and Expedia that says, hey, this person lives in Seattle. It's probably going to be their starting point. They want to go to Europe. We have data on all the airports in Europe. In fact, we have data that shows every family of 4 who's flown from Seattle to any airport in Europe, how much it cost, how much they spent. You all aren't going to win this. Visa and American Express are going to win this fight because they got better data. They know what I spent on Booking. They know what I spent on Expedia. It's all data. You should be able to tell me, all right, I did this, right? And how are you going to find it out? How are you, as a human being, going to figure out what's the cheapest place in Europe to take a family of 4 over the Christmas break? I don't want to tell you I want to leave on the 15th. I said Christmas. Figure it out. A few days before, a few days after, a week before, a week after. You're a computer! Oh, no, we got to program this. No, you don't. It's data. It's not programming. It's data. Figure it out. Look at all the flight patterns from Seattle to Europe over that time period and figure it out. I did. You know what the cheapest location is? Lisbon, Portugal. It's the cheapest place to go from Seattle because I treat it as a data problem and not a programming problem. And then my daughter's like, I want to go to Portugal. I'm like, why don't you want to go to Portugal? She's like, Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal, and I think he's a douche. And I'm like, that's a good point. That's a good point. Where do you want to go, sweetheart? She's someplace with a Christmas market. You know, the German Christmas market with the wooden buildings and the good candy. Data. All right? Same time period. What cities have German Christmas markets? How much do people pay when they're there? I figured it out. Do you know what the answer was?
Yeah.
Manchester, England has the highest rated Christmas market that I can fly to the cheapest from for a family of 4 from Seattle. It's data. Go on booking.com. Booking.no. Okay. This is what's happening. The world is being reduced to data, and we are going to stop programming solutions. And we are going to start processing data instead. And perhaps the technology that we need to start considering and start getting good at isn't technology that we're used to right now. It's technology that's good at data, right? The Internet of Things, smart devices, they generate data. And this is not humans generating data. These are machines generating data, and machines can generate a lot of data. Cloud computing that organizes the data. Machine learning to find its patterns. AI to make it actionable. And augmented reality to make it come alive. These are the technology of the future. And if you're not good at one of these things, you're not going to have skills that are going to last into the next 5 years. I'm sorry, but you're not. You could have been really good at horses in 1905. Really good at horses. And by 1915, everybody's driving cars. And your skill at horses doesn't matter anymore. And this is happening even faster. I think probably the penultimate example of this new world order is Tesla Motors. Because Tesla Motors did something that none of the other car companies did. They converted the entire experience of driving to data. Now, I was at Google when Google started what became Waymo, right? Self-driving cars. They started with Sergey Brin's Prius. And they started bolting tech onto a Prius. And here's Waymo 15 years later in 2020. How much commercially available software have they shipped? None. And Tesla, okay, so they're at level 4 autonomy. Who gives a shit? It's like Magic Leap. Their AR is better than the HoloLens. Okay, show me a Magic Leap. You can't. Tesla got autopilot in the hands of actual human drivers in 2 years. 2 years! I know because I know engineers at Tesla who looked to see when the first check-in of code was on autopilot. Converted the world to data. Right? Sensors that monitor the internal operations of the car. There's not a damn thing that happens in the last couple models I'm talking about, and then maybe the next one. But there's not a single volt of electricity or watt that's consumed of energy in that car that the car doesn't know about. External. Tesla sees everything. It's got cameras. It records people committing crimes against it. It's its own defense mechanism. It sees people in sidewalks. It sees other cars on the road, right? It's internally aware and it's externally aware because of data. IoT, a bunch of sensors that collect the data that the car needs to drive. Was it programmed? Did somebody say, oh, I can code this. If you're at a stoplight, then plug in stop. And if it's your turn to go, and plug and go. No one wrote that code. You don't code AI. You don't code smart machines. You teach them. Did any of you program your son or your daughter or your niece or your nephew to drive? You train them to drive. You say, okay, you see a sign that looks like that, stop and wait your turn. Where's my turn? Well, let me show you. Well, that person got there before you. The next time it was a tie. The next time you were last. And they learn. Right? They get better over time. They're out there practicing, they learn. Out there practicing, and they learn. Nobody's programmed to drive. The AI is not programmed to drive either. It learned to drive. It practiced driving. It got better and better and better at driving. It reduced the entire problem to data. And when the entire problem is fully reduced to data, there is nothing a car will need a human to do. And right now, it's getting down in a Tesla. You don't need your phone. You don't need your phone in a Tesla. As soon as you get in, you got an app. The app's like, all right, I got it. Good. Teslas can read your tweets. Teslas can read your texts. You don't need your phone. That's, by the way, that's my litmus test for something that's actually smart. When I don't need my phone to interact with it at all. And you don't. So this is important. This is something. What's happened here is that the capabilities that we used to have to carry around with us in our backpack or in our hands is beginning to melt into the environment. And the first place it's melted successfully is in Tesla cars. Tesla's worth $100 billion. Second most valuable car company in the world behind Toyota. And how many cars do they sell compared to Toyota? Almost none, really, when you compare, and yet they're worth more than General Motors and Ford. Crazy. Reduce the world to data. That's the future. You're going to look at a problem and instead of saying, okay, we're going to program it like this, we're going to have these functions, and we're going to have all this stuff, you're going to just say, where's the data? IoT, build IoT to gather it and report it. Build a cloud to store it and organize it. Build machine learning algorithms to figure out the patterns. It knows it's a car. And slowly but surely, everything the human does to the car has gone away. When was the last time any of you all heard the word dipstick? I spent the first 20 years of my driving career pulling it out, wiping the oil off, putting it back in, wiggling it around, pulling it out, and reading the oil. I don't check my oil anymore. My car checks my oil for me. And everything I do for it I do less and less for my car every single year. Do you know the latest, there's a feature in Tesla, I know this because I know people who can look at the code and they like me. Why do they like me? Because I'm a storyteller. I made them laugh one time, I made them think one time, and they've remembered me for it. Tesla Model S's are going to save parking spots for each other. If you have a parking spot in downtown Seattle, and you're beginning to pull out, the Tesla will send any other Tesla Model S around here need a parking spot? I'll fucking wait, man. To hell with those Volkswagens. They're collaborating with each other. Everybody's always like, oh, but what happens when there's a car coming in, right, and there's an old lady on one side of the street and a kid on the other side of the street has got to choose between them and kill us. How did you get so angry? Stop watching Fox News, everything's okay. Cars are never going to get themselves in that situation. The cars are going to be reporting out to each other. It's the internet of cars. These fuckers are talking to each other. They're warning you about traffic alerts. You can go Google traffic. Oh, Google traffic. Google traffic was programmed. It says, oh, go this way. And if something happens while you're on that direction, you're screwed. It's not going to be reported. But another car gets in it and says, hey, you're a Tesla. Don't come this way. There's a bunch of Fords in line here. They talk to each other. They collaborate. They figure shit out. You're not going to ever have to choose between killing an old lady and a little kid. And the human is becoming more and more optional, and it's not long until the cars are going to be able to completely drive themselves, and they're going to be good at it. This is called transportation as a service. Take what you do and put as a service after it. And if it makes no sense at all, you're working in the old paradigm. I'm sorry, your skills are going to atrophy, and you're going to be struggling. You're going to be coming to seminars like this for the rest of your days, trying to figure out how to succeed. I'm sorry, the truth is not always good. Human optional. Transportation as a service. Teslas are already beginning to insure themselves. Right? They know where they're going. You get in, it knows where you're going. You're going to work. What's the cheapest amount of insurance I can get for this one ride? That's it. Human's not going to know who is insuring this. It's just going to be insured. The car is going to take care of it. The car is going to drive itself into its service appointment while it's parked at work. How does it know how long it's parked at work? Because it's got the data. It's been parked at work a lot. It knows what it's going to be doing. In fact, it can go drop you off and go around and make some money for you. Human optional. These are the goals. This is what all the smart companies are doing. Why is Tesla worth $100 billion? Because they're doing this shit. Elon's not walking around saying, well, oh, what have you coded today? What have you converted to data today? What part of this problem have you gotten closer to humans being optional? Collective intelligence talked about this. This is called ambient computing. The computers that we currently carry around with us, they're human-centric computers. They're waiting, right? What do you want me to do? All right, here I am. What do you need? Well, I'm in a traffic jam, you dumbass. What do you think I need? That's going to figure it out. Ambient computing. The computers are going to wait for us wherever they are. They're going to be spent, right? Everything's going to be a computer. Let me tell you the one I'm most excited about. This is the one I'm working on now. I'm the CTO of an ambient computing company. We're still in stealth mode. I'm not going to name it yet, but we're hiring like crazy. What's the most logical place for an ambient computer to make the most impact on humans? The place where humans spend the most of their time. Indoors. We spend some 96% of our time indoors. If Tesla can make humans optional in a car, what would the computers look like that would make humans optional in a building? Because your home is really difficult to maintain. I know, because my house is like 4 years old now and shit's breaking. I had to have the fence repaired, I had to have an electrician in, now I got a little roof leak because I live in Seattle. I'm calling around, working on behalf of my house. My house is one big ass ball and chain. But if you take a page from Tesla's book here, what do we need to do? We can't do what Google did, and what Google and Amazon are doing now. Taking it home and bolting a bunch of shit on it. It didn't work for Waymo. It took them 15 years to get to the point Tesla got to. Build a computer that you can drive. That's what Tesla did. We're building a computer that you can live in. And we have the same goals as Tesla. Monitor everything. Not a drop of water moves through one of our buildings that we don't know about. Not a watt of electricity gets consumed that we don't know about. Not a single particle of pollution in the air, not just smoke, but any sort of pollutant that we don't know about. The toilet flushes, we know about it. Somebody's in the house, we know about it. Somebody leaves the house, we know about it. In fact, you leave an apartment. This is Wembley Park in London. With soccer fans, you probably recognize Wembley Stadium. It's the smartest neighborhood in the world because of our building. Our building monitors everything. No one pays for water, no one pays for electricity, no one pays for internet, because we figured out how much all that shit costs. Because data. We watched energy usage. It didn't take but 3 months for us to figure out exactly how much money we need to charge people to cover all of the electricity costs for the entire building. In your rent, it's included with electricity, everything's included, everything. We're now working on streaming services. We went to Samsung and said, Samsung, how would you like to sell 100,000 TVs? And they're like, okay. You got to program to our API. Our TVs aren't smart right now. We call it a smart TV. We use the word smart too much. If it's programmed, it ain't smart. If it learns, it's smart. And the TV will learn. Because the TV can do what Booking.com and what Expedia can't do. Expedia has Expedia's data, Booking has Booking's data. You're limited. That's why I said Amex and Visa's going to beat you, because they know what a plane ticket looks like, right? They got better data than you do. And a TV is going to have better data. A TV is going to know what you watch on Netflix. It's going to know what you watch on Hulu. It's going to know what you watch on HBO. It's going to know what you watch everywhere. It's going to know who you are because it can recognize your face. It's going to figure out what your profile is, what you like, what you don't like, whether you're really watching or whether it's background, whether it's a big game and everybody's staring at the TV, 2 minutes of the Kentucky Derby, or it's just a big party in there and no one's looking at the TV. It's going to know, right? And it's going to have Netflix automatically. It's going to, you're going to forget the name Netflix. You're just going to say, I want to watch The Commitments. TV will find it. You're going to forget the name Disney. You're going to forget the name. The TV will negotiate with these people. The building itself will own all of these subscriptions. You can move in on the onboarding app and say, I want it furnished. And that's all you have to say. We know the designers that people are happy with. We know the furniture that's been ordered that's been returned. We know the furniture that's ordered that stood the test of time. It's all data. The entire building is nothing but data. You walk out of your apartment and the elevator's automatically summoned for you, because we know what it looks like when you walk out of your apartment and you're going to the elevator versus going to the garbage chute or whatever. Because it's all data. We didn't program it. We didn't say, if it's only one person and there's someone left behind in the apartment, then if it's during the hours of work, and if... So there's the data about people leaving and summoning elevators. Fucking figure it out. You're a computer. You're an algorithm. This is the future. The future is looking at problems differently. The future is reducing the world to data. In the last disruption, coding skills ruled. In the next disruption, data skills are going to rule. Now you still need to code, right? The future is always built on the present. Coding skills are going to be really important in building the first wave of the future, and then they're not. Get good at data. And if you'd like a text version of this talk, the books are out there, they're $10. Payment options are on there. All proceeds go to charity, and you'll learn a little bit about what I'm doing. My name is James Whittaker. I'm finished. Feel free to contact me if you want. All right, so I've got nothing to do but drink beer tonight. So I'm available for a few questions. Mamtha is still here. Mamtha can answer some questions too. What are they? Oh, they're so shy, aren't they, man? Yes, ma'am.
Great talk, by the way. Very entertaining and very informative. Thank you.
That storyteller spell book. I teach you exactly how to do this.
Awesome.
Seriously, I broke it down, man. Anybody can do this.
Awesome. Thank you. My question to you is about data. You talked about data, which is great. How do you foresee the future with the regulations such as GDPR and CCPA, where there's a lot of limitations implemented by the government now? And how does that play out in terms of what your vision is for the future with the data?
So the challenge to the technical community isn't to just obey the government. The reason a lot of these rules, and the rules are going to get worse because Facebook and Google are exploiting our data. Right? The current value proposition is that we supply data at will, or we can't do anything online. We supply data and Google and Facebook get to monetize the crap out of it, and we're stuck. That's a really poor value proposition. This world is going to flip Google and Facebook on its back, right? Bernie and Elizabeth, they all want to regulate Google and Facebook. If Google and Facebook don't figure this world out, they're going to die. And they say, oh, Google can never die. We said the same thing about Microsoft, and they died. They've reborn a bit, but you know, the web killed them because they didn't see it coming. And you know, the PC, IBM didn't see it coming. There's no way, if anybody's as old as me, and you were in this industry in the late 80s, there's no way anybody would have guessed that IBM would be where they are now, right? Nobody would have guessed that. Google and Facebook are facing an existential threat with this model. Because, yeah, they got big, important pools of data, but I've got data where people live. I've got data of people, I know where they eat their food. Right? By the way, you can book from your building, your apartment itself in this building will find shops that if you're looking for a backpack, like, oh, it's local and it's there. And it might, you know, Google will say, oh, well, we think they got it. The backpack itself is reporting its presence to the store, which is communicating with your apartment, which says it's there. Have it delivered, please. Right? We've got much better data than Google and Facebook. This is an existential threat to both of these companies. How are you going to advertise in this model? The building knows what I want. It knows what I'm doing. My intent is clear. All the other places that can satisfy that intent can interact directly with me. I don't need an ad. This is a huge opportunity because what it allows us to do as tech companies is give a better value proposition. You know, if I'm Expedia, I'm thinking, all right, I know a lot about my travelers. here's a good value proposition. Give me all your data, and I'll find places that you're going to really enjoy going. And I'm going to tell you when to go. I'm going to book the tickets for you. You don't have to do any of that. Work the human out of the equation, please, because the travel experience sucks ass. Nobody enjoys booking. I mean, you know, Osama bin Laden took the joy out of travel. You all have taken the joy out of booking travel. I used to have a human that did it for me. Now I'm going to have an AI that does it for me, and I'm not going to need all this stuff. And you're going to forget the name Booking.com, and you're going to forget the name Expedia. They're all going to become utilities, and you're just going to live your life. So I want to concentrate on the value proposition. What can I do as an owner of way more important data than Facebook or Google have? How can I make that proposition better? I've already started to do that. You don't pay for internet. You don't pay for Netflix. You don't pay for Spotify. You pay for it. It's built into your rent. We manage it all for you. You don't have to think about it. Just tell your TV what show you want to watch, and the TV figures it out. Our payment mechanism for this is devilishly clever. And guess what it's based on? Data. So it's a value proposition. And these new set of companies, like the one I work for now, we get to rewrite the rules. No advertisements. Direct connection with the value that you need, because our machines figured out what you need on this.
Thank you. It was a great talk.
Thanks,
Very
man.
thoroughly. Looks like the question in my mind, what you were asking still remains that is it a symptom of the problem, like why GDPR or such policies are coming, or because
all of these regulations by the government are in response to, oh my gosh, we need to protect our people because they're being used by Facebook and Google, but they don't protect us. All they do is, hey, I'm going to pull your pants down, whoosh, instead of whoosh.
Sure, but like in this new model, what is the assurance to the consumer? Like, I'm living in a building, and building knows everything about me. Like, how do I know it's not?
It's value
it's
proposition.
Not using my data?
You don't know. But it's my job to make the use of your data so valuable to you and convince you that when it's really personal, I'm going to anonymize the shit out of it. And here's the value proposition. I'm going to take that value and I am going to extract the value from the world, and I'm going to share it with you. Right? I'm going to make the experience of all the building owners and tenants better. And at the same time, life's going to get more convenient and cheaper for you. You know, so one of the scenarios I'm working on now is elderly care in this building. By the way, these are build to rent. We're not messing with new homes. Let Amazon and Google bolt a bunch of shit on that you're going to throw away in a few years because it doesn't talk to anything else. I'm fine with them spending their money that way. These are all brand new build to rent, the very fastest growing, the only place millennials want to live, and there's more millennials than any of us. If you want some hope for the future, global warming, the political landscape, and all this shit, just remember, we're all going to die before they do. And they're better than us. This is the way they all want to live. And so it's a computer before it's a building, just like a Tesla is a computer before it's a car. Is there another question?
I had the same question as Steve. Thank you for
You're welcome. Good answer.
So what does this look like as a career path? Because
Your hair is amazing, by the way.
thank you. Because having worked as a data scientist, I know that a citizen data scientist is not going to cut it. Data needs to be integrated throughout an organization in different roles.
So
it's
not going to happen that way. What's going to happen is, Tesla is organized the data around driving. They've organized the data around that one human activity, and they're nailing it. They're absolutely nailing it. My company is trying to do it around living, right? This is literally going to be life as a service, is what we're offering. The legal community, they're doing it to them. There's a group of lawyers out there converting their jobs to data, and they are going to run themselves out of work. There's, civil engineers are building robots to build roads. They're going to do the same thing. So you take a look at some human activity that has yet to be converted to data, and be the person that converts it to data.
Thank you.
jobs lost, how do we replace those jobs?
We're not. Society is going to have to fundamentally change. And each of those disruptions that I went through, it changed, right? The success landscape for some jobs was raised. Success landscape for other jobs was lowered, and things, read it in the book. The book goes into much more detail about this. This is the one where I don't really see a comeback for humans. There's really not much that we can do in this world with life as a service. When the thing that I want just arrives at my door, where you can see it's getting closer to it, but all those solutions have been coded. I want a solution that's learned, and I don't know. I talk about this. The very last chapter is the existential crisis of humanity, and there's very few things that humans are going to be needed for in the future. And so there's lots of questions about universal basic income. There's questions about, but there's one, and that's, unfortunately, I only had a couple copies of the creativity book, and I think they've already disappeared. Our human creativity is the last thing that the machines are going to be good at. Machines make lousy painters. They can copy, but they can't create from scratch. So we really need to be, at a time when most of our kids are in STEM programs, STEM is the one thing the machines are going to be really good at. I mean, it almost by definition reduces to data really well. It's the arts I think we're going to have to turn to for our own sanity.
And my question actually builds on your last comment, because I wasn't at your talk like about 3 years ago, and I remember you were recommending if there is one skill to teach your kids to do, it's coding.
So the coding is what we're going to build this future on, right? We're going to need coders for another 10 years, and then we're not. But coding right now seems to be the new reading, writing, and arithmetic combined. It's a really, really important skill. But that's beginning. So that was 3 years ago, and I underestimated how fast AI would take over. Right? We built a feature 2 days ago. A few of us built a feature with zero code, a shit ton of data, and a model, and an algorithm that was written for that model, and it came up with the answer. And we all sat around. We had kind of an exercise. We don't know how it got. We know it's right. We don't really understand how it figured it out. So.
But my question was actually if you would say today, because it looks like your world where you changed a little bit, right? You're still talking about data, but obviously our kids would not need to know how to drive the car, right?
No.
Yeah, what they will need
Most
to know.
predictions show transportation as a service being fully implemented by 2025. Now, whether governments will allow it or regulate it to make it slower, but the tech will be done by 2025. It only took 13 years for the automobile to replace the horse and carriage. From 1900 to 1913, we went from full-on horses to full-on cars. And we're going toward full-on self-driving cars. The technology is actually already there, but our cities aren't designed for it. But it's going to be an amazing transformation of our cities. The most predictions are 30% of our spaces in cities is used for parking, and will no longer need to be used for parking. What the hell are we going to do with it? We have a chance to make cities green and beautiful, and this is what we're going to be doing for the next 10, 15 years, is figuring out how to terraform our planet for humans living with machine assistance. I think it's exciting.
Are you building these houses in Seattle?
No, we have contracts all over the world, but most of them are in Europe. We went to first certification in Europe because it's the hardest to get. It's like the FC, the Underwriters Laboratory, and all this stuff over here. The European standards are harder to get, so we go for those first. This is our first building, and most of them are in the UK, actually, which is good for me because I'm a complete and total Anglophile. The United Kingdom is my favorite country on the earth. Bulgaria is lovely. But there's something about England, it's the beer, I'll admit it. Yes, ma'am.
I hope I can phrase it right. So behind the data analytics, there are numbers. And I finished accounting. So what I'm noticing now that the accounting and finance world, what's in New York City, is sort of like missing the boat a little bit.
Well, a little bit and not. I mean, accounting, finance has been automated. Software is good at that. That's such an easy problem. We don't really need AI
people
for it.
behind there who are sequencing and doing the right validations for opportunities with new data validation opportunities in the market. Because what's out there now is the old school, like audit, I don't know, debit credit, all those things. Anyone I ask, no one even knows about data analytics. Ask my friend in real estate.
That, my dear, is called an opportunity. One of the reasons my company went after commercial real estate is because we saw them so stuck in 1989 that they couldn't get out, right? So the sales pitch isn't, oh, we're going to make your building smart. Oh, we're going to have all these scenarios. Oh, your building's going to be so cool. People are going to love it. We never talk about any of that. We say a smart building is cheaper to build and easier to monetize after it's built.
Right.
And that's it.
Who's taking that niche right now since like this?
I don't know who's doing it in finance.
People, who's gonna kind of jump
I mean,
in
finance
and overtake that
jobs
industry?
are already going like flies. You know, J.P. Morgan Chase has a fraction of the employees they had 10 years ago. Morgan Stanley has a fraction of the employees they had years ago. But most of that is just kind of low-hanging fruit with software. Once AI gets involved, AI is already picking your stocks. You can pay a human financial advisor to pick your stocks if you want. A human financial advisor is using an AI to do it. It's just a matter of somebody popping that AI up so the rest of us have access to it. All right, one more question, because it's beer time. If you ever want me to stay a long time and give a really long talk, bring beer. We'll let you. I'll take two.
I'm just curious. I think early in your career you spent time in academia. Are you planning to go back to that field?
Not in a million years. I did 1 year stint at UW last year as a visiting chair professor at a business school, and no. Love UW, love Foster Business School. It's great. If you get a chance to go, it should have gone last year when I was a lecturer there. But it's moving too slow. Too slow. I found my thing. Life as a service is my thing. And it ain't going to come out of academia. But the people who helped me code it will. She had her hands up, and then I'm going to have to stop.
Thank you so much. Life as a Service sounds amazing. How do we join your company?
Thanks to the Bulgarian Women in Tech for inviting me. What was the question?
How do we join your company? Because your mission sounds awesome.
Reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Right now we're hiring only hardcore tech programming people, so if you want to talk about it, reach out to me. You're welcome. All right, guys, books are out there. I'm going to be walking out there in 5 minutes to take them. So get one now if you want it. Payment information is on it, and then we can keep in contact. Peace, everybody.